Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you 6:35 start time, and here we go. Thank you. There's one thing I respect, and that's time. We're very limited with our time, and so let's make our... Please get your seats. I do ask you to please silence your cell phones if you haven't already. We want this meeting to be very productive, and we want to hear from everybody who would like the opportunity to visit. So my name is Pam Petrie, and I welcome you. It's nice to see so many friends and neighbors out here tonight. Thank you for your time and coming to join us. This meeting is hosted by a group of neighbors who have come together because of our shared concern about a proposed energy development that would permanently change our community. We want to be clear, we are not against solar energy at all. In fact, we support small-scale projects on rooftops where energy feeds into the LPA and supports our local grid. We oppose the scale and we oppose the location of this proposed project for reasons of which we will go through this evening. It is important to note that our research is ongoing and we are continuing to learn more each day. To help us keep track of our conversation tonight, Susan is going to be taking notes. We will begin with an introduction of the overall project, and then we will move to our panel who will share our concerns. We will conclude with an opportunity for you to ask questions and share your concerns with us. So that's kind of the agenda of the evening. And so again, I thank you for coming, and I'd like to ask Trapper to come up and introduce the project for us.
Thank you, Pam. Nickham and one of your neighbors. I live about a mile. My wife and I and our kids have been part of the community in La Plata for 22 years. And about a month ago, we learned that Primergy Solar, a California-based company, wants to create a 1,920 acre solar power facility literally in our backyard. At 1,920 acres, this industrial sized facility would be 28% larger than the surface area of Lake Nighthorse. They submitted a proposal to La Plata County on November 4th to install the third largest industrial solar complex in the state of Colorado. If the county approves this proposal, Primergy will clear these 1,920 acres and install up to 500,000 solar panels, 155 megawatt lithium ion battery storage system, about 37 electric current inverters, a new electric substation with power transformers, almost a mile of towers and overhead cabling to connect its plant to the existing tri-state substation on County Road 136. The anticipated lifespan of this facility would be about 45 years. It appears that the energy the plant generates would be sold to utilities through a Denver-based energy broker called Guzman. Our local rural electric co-op, LPEA, would not be purchasing the energy that's produced anytime in the foreseeable future. This industrial solar complex would stretch along County Road 141 west for 3 miles from County Road 136 and north for about a mile and a half. It would clear agricultural land, treed land, rangeland. It would surround bodies of water and wetlands. Primergy started procuring land for this development 5 years ago through a purchase option agreement with Three Sisters LLC, a lease option agreement with the Iscar family, and a solar planning lease with Fort Lewis College. We've come to the conclusion that Hesperus is not the appropriate location for an industrial-sized solar complex. This area we love would be permanently harmed by this project, and we have a responsibility to be good stewards of the abundant natural resources our area is blessed with. Back to you, Pam.
Thank you, Trapper. Thank you. And I just remind you that we will allow for questions and answers from you when the panel concludes. So as you're listening to our concerns, make notes on your agenda. And if you don't have, or not your agenda, your sheets. And if you don't have the sheets, they're at the back table. Put your hand up and somebody will bring them to you. But make notes as we go through, and then when it's your turn, you'll remember what you thought was important to talk about. Brad. Oh, I did. Good job.
He's listening.
All right, so as a group, we have identified several concerns, and we've divvied them up amongst our panel members to go over each one. Panel, will you please introduce?
Hello, everyone. My name is Barry Spear. I have lived in La Plata County for 44 years, and I've been a neighbor of you all out here in the Hesperus area for 12 years.
Hi, neighbors. I'm Maggie Cavan. I have lived here for 23 years. I am a Fort Lewis alumna, and I am a small business owner in Durango.
Hudson Grigg. I was born in Durango and grew up out on 101, and my wife and I moved out onto 136 about 3 years ago and live out there with our 2-year-old son.
Our first concern deals with the elk and the deer and migratory paths. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has designated the 1,920 acres as a high priority habitat. Along with the deer and the elk, it is known that black bear, mountain lions, turkeys, bald eagles, falcons, and other animals use that area. It is unknown how many elk and deer use this significant migratory path and winter range. The Southern Ute Indian tribe is in the middle of a 3-year study which will show CPW the number of elk and deer which use the 1,920 acres. This study should be allowed to be completed to inform CPW specifically how many elk and deer will be impacted before the county issues a permit to Primergy. The 500,000 solar panels proposed would be surrounded by an 8-foot-high metal fence. Primergy has suggested splitting this fenced-in area, an area larger than the surface of Lake Nighthorse, with a corridor supposedly for the elk and deer to use to migrate. CPW has recognized that this would be an experiment to see if the ungulates and other animals would actually use it. CPW says there have been no studies that say a corridor of this type will be used by these animals. So what if this grand experiment fails? What if the elk, the deer, and other animals do not use it? The two huge islands of fenced-in panels will remain, having destroyed this migration path and winter range. Will the county require Primergy to remove the panels, the entire facility, if it fails? Not likely. Once this habitat is gone, it is lost. The time to stop this project is now, and have the county deny the 1041 permit.
Another one of our concerns are fire risks. In 2019, an industrial scale solar facility in California caught fire and burned 1,127 acres when a bird flew into a pair of wires, creating an electrical circuit and a shower of sparks. A California Fire Battalion Chief, Zach Nichols, said, and I quote, "One wing touches each of the conductors and they turn into a light bulb. Happens all the time," end quote. The U.S. Department of Energy's Solar Energy Technologies Office found that in approximately half of 430 cases of fire or heat damage in photovoltaic systems, which are PV systems, the PV system itself was considered the cause or the probable cause. It also found that fires caused by PVs are difficult to extinguish as they cannot use any water, and it easily spreads beyond the area of origin. We live on the dry side. This area is located in federally recognized very high wildfire hazard area, including the 1,920 acres proposed for Primergy's facility. We have a small volunteer fire department with minimal resources. There will be no on-site monitoring at the facility, and if a fire breaks out and they get a remote alarm, the fire would have spread and it would be too late.
We're also worried that rural areas like this are some of the last undeveloped sites that contain prehistoric and historic archaeological deposits. Development like this would result in the our history. The research, examinations, and review into this area have only recently begun and are still being conducted. This includes land within Fort Lewis and includes evidence of a Native American boarding school which operated in the 1800s, early 1900s. History Colorado is currently researching that area, and their research isn't expected to conclude until end of June next year. So I think it would be prudent to hold off developing this area until this research concludes. I think it's also important to note that once these areas are developed, they're gone forever. There's no reclaiming or restoring that area.
No power from this proposed industrial scale facility will be consumed by local residents. Primergy indicates that 56,000 homes, although in the pre-submittal application it said 30,000 homes, will benefit from the power generated. Not one of those homes will be local. While Primergy says it is not a local electricity distributor, it has no purchaser to distribute the power locally. LPEA, our local electricity distribution cooperative, has specifically stated that it will not purchase power from this facility, and it does not want to be associated with this industrial scale facility. The power, if it is generated and when it is generated, would be transmitted to the tri-state substation on County Road 136 and then transmitted out of the area.
Our land will be destroyed. Industrial scale solar infrastructure modifies landscapes extensively, beginning with the site preparation. According to a study done by the Bureau of Land Management and the Department of Energy, current site preparation and construction practices for utility scale solar lead to direct environmental impacts like soil disturbance and habitat fragmentation, as well as indirect environmental impacts like changes in surface water quality due to all of these cases may lead to long-term damage. This project will desecrate 10 different climate zones by completely clearing all vegetation and grading the land prior to construction. They will then cover the areas with gravel, and then they will use 344 acre feet of water and possibly more from Lake Nighthorse to control dust during the construction. Now, for those of you that don't understand acre feet of water, that equates to 189,310 gallons of water that they have confirmed they will be using in the construction process alone. Such modifications transform soil physical, chemical, and biological properties, thereby impacting moisture and nutrient dynamics, and thus the soil's ability to support vegetation and perform a host of associated ecological processes. Grazing lands for the largest migration corridor in Colorado are left useless. This project will succeed in creating an ecological wasteland, not only forever altering the land, but also introducing all the chemicals that they will use to keep the land barren and prevent anything that they've removed from growing back. In addition to diminishing the landscape's ability to support ecosystem services during the solar facility's lifespan, these changes may leave legacy effects that persist long after the installation is removed. We believe industrial scale solar is better placed on contaminated or disturbed lands.
And I think a big reason a lot of us live in this area for the peace and the quiet and the views. A facility this size would come with noise disruption, glare, as well as light pollution. The Primergy application calls for 14-foot high solar panels, as well as gin ties, or the poles that hold the wires, that are as much as 70 to 100 feet high. Those gin ties, those poles are going to border our properties and cross 136 to tie into the substation there on 136. Along with that comes potential reduction in property values, and studies have shown that property values can diminish as much as 25% near facilities of this size.
$250 jobs, Primergy states, will be created during the construction of this massive industrial scale facility. Only 3 will be permanent, if that, because this can be controlled remotely from California, where Primergy is located. And they haven't decided whether or not there will be 3 permanent employees, or they will do it remotely. It is curious to note too, that while Primergy publicly says that 250 employees, its application states that there'll be 772 employees needed to work on this project. With all these employees, however, no guarantees have been made that locals will be employed, mostly because they lack, quote, able skill sets, unquote. If the 250 employees and their families descend on La Plata County for a year of construction, where will they live? Primergy has suggested its workers could live in rental houses, apartments, or campgrounds. Plata County is already stretched with its workplace housing situation. Pressure on will markedly increase on the county's infrastructure of roads, medical facilities, basic services, and community amenities. Primergy has not offered to pay for any of these impacts.
We are very concerned about water quality. Biosolids used in utility scale solar facilities pollute the groundwater and the drinking water drawn from the area and the rivers downstream. We are very concerned about the impact on the quality of our well water within the vicinity of the project and downstream as well. Uncontrolled runoff of water and topsoil is a well-documented byproduct of industrial scale solar site development. This massive increase in watershed sedimentation impacts all downstream rivers and estuaries. Water contamination doesn't stop with the end of construction. Removal of all the trees and deep-rooted plants, along with inadequate stormwater controls, lead to long-term runoff and water contamination issues.
We're also concerned about the heat island effect, where structures absorb and re-emit the sun's heat more than the natural landscape. These heat islands can raise temperatures as much as 5 to 7 degrees. And I think the last thing we need in this area are higher temperatures, particularly with the fire danger.
Primergy claims in its application that the local benefit is that it will create $37 million in local tax revenue over the 45-year life of the facility. This $822,000 a year is speculative because there's no way to predict the taxes that are generated today can be today will be the same over 45 years. Changes to imposed taxes can be implemented by local governments, by state legislators, or the taxes can expire. Weighed against this speculative benefit are the real costs to this county. If the temporary workforce hired during the construction is from outside the area, their wages most likely will go back to their homes elsewhere, not spent here. Costs to the county and its residents in the form of lost wildlife revenues, road maintenance and replacement, overburdened housing, medical assistance, property devaluation, fire hazards, water degradation, and extra decommissioning costs will far outweigh the benefits of taxes Primergy claims will occur. For all these reasons stated tonight, the county commissioners should deny Primergy its application for a 1041.
We are also worried about chemicals. Gamble oak, grasses, native plants, and weeds will attempt to regenerate on the disturbed land. For management, there are generally a few ways facilities deal with unwanted vegetation. Predominantly the combination of high rates of herbicide and ground cover, resulting in toxic contamination to the soil and water runoff. Particles from damaged, leaking, and degrading panels will also introduce other chemicals and heavy metals into the land and to the water that could result in a multitude of carcinogenic health risks for humans and animals.
At the end of the life of the project, insufficient surety funds by the developer could result in county responsibility for the decommissioning costs. These costs can range from $40,000 to $100,000 per megawatt. Certainly the county should not be responsible for these potential costs, which would be passed on to the folks in this room and our children as much as 45 years. And I also think it's important to note that there's new technology on the horizon that could make a solar facility of this size obsolete well before the 45-year proposed life of the project.
And lastly, some of us share the concern of EMF radiation. Solar panels create direct current, which must be converted to alternating current in order to use the energy that is generated. This conversion creates what's called dirty electricity or electromagnetic fields or EMF. Prolonged environmental exposure, even if minor, may significantly increase health risks from electromagnetic fields. Again, when we talk about EMF radiation, we're talking about electromagnetic fields that come from electric fields, radio frequency, magnetic fields, and of course, dirty electricity. How much EMF radiation in the form of dirty electricity solar panels emit will vary. There are many considerations like the size of the panel and how many panels there are. This proposed industrial facility has confirmed that there are going to be up to 500 panels that will be emitting these frequencies in our area nonstop.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, panel members. As you have just heard, go ahead. This group has spent considerable time researching this project, considerable time. We've looked at every angle. We've tried to be fair and see how this will impact us. I'm proud to stand with these individuals, and I share their passion for our community. I'd like to invite Helen Ruth and Jen to come forward and talk to us about the petition that they've started.
Good evening, neighbors. My name is Jen Settles, and this is our petition sponsor, Helen Ruth. This petition opposes the permit proposal by California-based Primergy for the Hesperus Solar Development in La Plata County, Colorado. We stand to protect the wildlife, natural environment, history, and character of the rural Hesperus community and its many resources from being degraded for decades by this wrongly sited, wrongly sized industrial solar facility. The petition is available within the website, or there is a printed petitional available tonight, signing directly. Unfortunately, the petition itself will not be enough to stop this industrial project. We need your help to take action and make your voice heard. Aside from the petition, the most impactful steps are to attend the public hearing, contact county and state officials, spread the word, and make your opposition heard. We have proactive steps to get involved within the website and flyers provided to you this evening. Thank you for standing with your neighbors, and of course, thank you for your support.
Good evening. My name is Helen Ruth Hesperus. I know quite a few of you people, but there's a lot of newer folks in this community, and I welcome you here. And I just want to say I appreciate this turnout tonight. I appreciate your willingness to learn. I certainly appreciate your signature.
Thank you, ladies. So if you're motivated to learn more about how you can help us, I've asked Maggie to share that with us.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here tonight. It is very refreshing to know that we are all a part of such an awesome community. Thank you for coming here and learning about what we've learned about the effects and possible concerns of this project. Ways for you to get involved, you will find on this handout on the back, on the bottom, you'll find a couple of bulleted points of ways that you can get involved and share this initiative. There's also what's called a QR code right next to it. I'm sure a lot of you remember these from the pandemic. You just point your phone at it, a link will pop up, you hit that link and it'll go straight to the petition or to our website that has the petition. There's also a download button there for any of the handouts that we have here if you wanted to download those and share those. So visit our website, stophesperussolar.com. And please visit our not only the website, but our social media channels like Instagram, Facebook, Nextdoor. Please share it on all channels that you guys have access to. Make sure that when you go home, your friends and family know about it. We really, really, really need to get a lot of people behind this in order to make quite an impact. So if you have any questions on how to get involved, you can ask any of us that are up here. But this is really going to be your best navigation to the website, and it'll show you everything there. Thank you very much again for being here.
Thank you, Maggie. So this concludes our presentation, and now we'd like to hear from you. We value local input, and we encourage everyone to be heard.
I do want to say one more thing, sorry. On the website, there is a way to join our mailing list so that you guys can stay in touch with any events that we have or any information. The website is going to have the most current and up-to-date information, so that's the best place to visit. But if you want automatic updates, just put in your email and join our list, and we can update you from there.
That's right, and just like life, it's ongoing education, and we are ongoing learning more and listening more about this project, so that will be updated. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, would you please put contact information, including email addresses, names, and phone numbers of local and state officials that we can contact on your website?
Absolutely, they are. So if you guys go to the website on the Get Involved page. Oops, sorry, Bear. This is what the website looks like. It's quite eye-catching. I built it. But there's a page that says Get Involved. Every single way that you can get involved, all the county commissioners that you need to contact, emails of media, all of the contacts that we've been discussing this with are on there. And if there's anything that is not on there, shoot us an email on our contact page, and then we'll share any other contacts that we've got.
Thank you, Maggie.
Great question.
So listen, in an effort to keep the meeting moving along, I just want to explain the ground rules of the public participation piece. We want to get you home at a reasonable hour, and I know there's probably a lot of questions in the room tonight. Jen will be running a timer. So if anyone that's interested in having a comment or asking a question, come up forward up here and use the microphone, please. And we will give you 2 minutes to share your concern. Jen will hold up a yellow paddle when you have 30 seconds left. When she turns the paddle, concluded. You may finish your sentence, but you must conclude at the red paddle.
It's pink, but we're calling it red, okay?
So, and again, I told you time is valuable. So if you know you have something you want to say, let's just start a line. And we'll work through all of your comments as quickly as we can. I remind you that Susan's taking notes. We're listening. And maybe you've thought of something that we haven't yet.
I wouldn't cut him.
I'm not.
Okay, sir. Welcome. Tell us who you are and where you live, please.
Jerry Weiss. I'm retired. I lived 10 years in Rapid J and 16 years in Trappers Crossing. And I had chili dogs at Hesperus ski area, and I skied there. So I'm one of your neighbors that left. I sat in on 4 or 5 of the commissioner hearings on Hay Gulch and the coal company. You guys are great. I don't know if there's a lawyer here tonight, but you need to get yourself one. And you're going to be fighting Philadelphia lawyers. And at the end, I just talked with the Trapper. And at the last meeting, the county commissioners approved their permit to continue sending coal to Gallup, and with 29 conditions. There is nobody in the county commissioner's office or planning that does conditions enforcement. I think of those 29 conditions, I think there's 15 that still haven't been done. And I don't know how many years that is, 4 or 5 years ago. So these guys are gonna have every answer to counter your guys' complaint. And be ready for that. And somehow get the county to get a code enforcement officer or somebody involved to, if they approve it, that they do complete the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you. Ben, tell us your name and where you live, please.
Hey guys, my name is Ben Sorensen. I live on the north end of 136 in Long Hollow, and I just have a question more than a thought or anything. But it sounds like the permitting process is a pretty critical step to all this, and I'm curious if we know when that decision will be made, and if there are actionable steps that we can take before the decision's made. And then my follow-up question to that would be if we have any other case studies or research for projects like this that have been successfully stopped, and if we can learn from other people in other parts of the country that have had success. So just a question.
Great questions, Ben. Thank you. Does anybody feel like they can respond?
We do have a county planner here in the audience, and she may be the best one to shed light on that. Christy?
Is this Christy Cost?
Yes.
We haven't met, but we've spoken on the phone on Pam.
Hi.
Hi. So happy to have you here.
Yes.
So Christy has been very responsive and a pleasure to visit with over the phone. I can tell you that, although this is the first time we've met. I'm grateful that you're here. That means a lot.
I think I've spoken with quite a few of you over the phone, actually, even though I don't know your faces. To answer your question, I don't know, right? There you are. Hi. To answer your question, this permit process is extensive. It's the first 1041 project in La Plata County, and you can find that in Chapter 69. So the process will include consulting. The start of the review process, we've extended it by 30 days. So the first part of this review process is still in its infancy, which means we have 60 days to see if they've even submitted all of the applicable materials required. That's not even the approval process. After that, if we've deemed it complete, their submittals complete, then we will move forward with neighborhood meetings and consulting and XYZ. So there is a very intensive process. We told Primergy that it would probably take around 6 to 8 months to review this permit. So, and I think I've said this to a lot of you, but no stone will be left unturned with this project. So please trust the process. We are following it very diligently. Did that answer all your questions?
Christy, do you know when the public hearing will be?
No.
Okay.
No. No.
One thing that I'd like to add too is that during that process, what is very critical is comments from citizens. So please make your comments to the county, send them in. And then the next critical step is to actually attend the public hearing and to voice your concerns at the public hearing. We have seen many projects in front of the county commissioners who were swayed by the public hearing and public comment at that time.
So will the website be the best place for us to stay up to date on the hearing process and commentary and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yes. The most current information will be on our website.
And also on La Plata County's website.
Yes.
And to add to that, so I am currently working with our tech department on creating a website for public comments so that you can submit as many public comments as you want. Please organize them by topic.
I promise to do that.
Yeah. Yes, the application is available for public on our project portal. In addition to our website, I am also creating a frequently asked questions page. I think I've received the same question from enough of you to understand what your concerns are. So I've compiled that list, and within that frequently asked questions page, there will be links to Chapter 69, the review process, the link to the comment portal, and also the application itself. Yes.
So are you guys gonna require all the archaeological and wildlife studies to be done before you guys go into your process?
Absolutely. That's an integral part of the process for review. Yes.
Go and make your comments online on your website. Will those comments go in the
Yes.
since this is like, California money coming in, it sounds to be like a speculative, sort of investment deals. We're up in Denver area, I'm sure that around the east side of Denver, and all those millions of acres of prairie, finding, like I say, hey, there's a perfect site, 2 miles from your consumers. Are you guys gonna try to do anything kind of proactive like that, or?
The county will go through our own review process for economic impacts and things that affect the county, such as power, input and output. So we'll certainly look over those things. Yes.
I was just going to answer that. I do. This location, pardon me. No, so my husband runs the consolidated electrical distributor here in town, and he had brought up a wonderful point. Materials have tripled, quadrupled, like crazy in the last 2 to 3 years. The only reason I would assume this project even has legs or is possibly seeing the light of day is proximity to the substation, and that's it. It's going to save them costs, it's going to save them material costs, and they're going to have a shorter way to get to the substation. And that substation is a tri-state substation, and it's so that can take the energy out of the state. So it's simply proximity. That's it. I hear you, sister. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Christy at the planning department while she's up here? Yes.
Who are the powers that be behind the project? I mean, more than likely, they're probably concerned about global warming and all that stuff too.
The powers that the applicants themselves, Primergy.
Who's Primergy?
Primergy is a private company based
From California.
From California.
Right. So is there any names associated with government officials or?
Repeat the question, I can't hear.
Oh, the question was, what are the powers that be behind this project? And my answer was that this is a project, the applicant is a private company based out of California. And that's all that I know.
Also, they're a subsidiary of International Energy.
Susan said that they are also a subsidiary of an international conglomerate. Right in our
Any other
backyard.
questions for our planning department? Colton?
I want to know, so my understanding is that the planning department is currently short-staffed and isn't able to review current projects that are in the queue. Is this project being given priority for review because you're giving it a 6 to 8 month timeline, and other projects have been in that queue much longer than that, and they aren't being reviewed? So is the county giving preference to this applicant over other existing applicants that are already in your planning queue?
Did you all hear the question in the back? Okay.
The answer to your question is no, it's not given preference. However, I'm the natural resources planner, so I'm given a separate type of project, and this follows under my umbrella of projects. So though I am working on other county projects, this does not take precedence of any of the other projects that I have going. It will follow the same process and be given the same respect that all the other projects will be given.
Can we slip you some money to the leg?
No.
I would just request that, if it's going to go through the planning commission, that every project that's in that queue gets reviewed by the planning commission ahead of this one. They don't get to jump the line ahead of other projects.
I can assure you it doesn't work like that.
Now, there's a point. 1041 projects do not go in front of the planning commission. They go straight to the Board of County Commissioners. Am I correct?
What is the 1041 project?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the 1041? Is it just like an industrial version of a building permit, or?
So the question is, what is a 1041 project? A 1041 project is an activity or area of state interest. You can read more about that in the land use code, but essentially it's a project that impacts something more than the immediate community. But I think that's all.
So a project that impacts more than the immediate community. So it is given,
Comment
yes.
on what you're saying. So with the 1041 powers,
Who do you want to use this?
yeah, a couple of years ago, when the county commissioners were trying to sell us on the 1041 towers that they were taking. One of their selling points, and I was at the Marble Grange when they were talking about this, is they sold us on that, saying that they would stop projects like this that impacted communities. I am hoping that they are going to hold to that, and that that's still on top of their mind, that they will consider the community first. But that was their whole selling point, was that it wouldn't go to the state for approval, that they would stop it here. And I hope that they'll do that.
Thank you. So Christy has sat down, and again, I want to thank Christy for coming tonight. We appreciate her time. Anyone else have a question they'd like to come forward? Come on up, please. You're next then. I missed you. What's your name and tell us where you live, please?
I'm Laura Moore. I'm neighbors with Jen and Ben. My question is, do we know the amount of Gamble Oak, Juniper, Pinyon, and Ponderosa, the number of acres that will be cut down for this project? Or are there any trees? No, it's not all 1,900 acres.
Yeah.
There's agriculture land.
Okay.
Yes, so I want to know, I think what we need to do, it would be really good to quantify the number of trees that are being cut down and the amount of carbon capture that's being taken away by those trees being cut down for solar to be put up, and how much of it negates each other.
That's a really good point, Laura.
I was told by a Primergy representative that of the 1920 acres, 80% will be covered with the panels. And that 80%, the panels will be surrounded by a fence. So I think that's around 1,500 acres. On top of that, 5 acres will be used for their substation. Now, I don't think anybody has really gone in and cataloged how many trees there are.
I think it would be really beneficial either through Google Earth or something to look to see the amount of trees, the size of those trees, because in the article here in the Herald, they said that within 1 year of the completion of the project, it would be returned to the state that it was in. And we know that 100-year-old trees cannot be reproduced in 1 year, so that makes everything that they've said false. But I think we need to have that data, really out there and call them on what they're saying, right?
Thank you, Laura. I think we've made note of that, and I think that's valuable information for our case. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry, Brad's first. Brad, would you come up? Seems like I'm picking on you tonight.
I've only been here about 40 years, so, but I've got a few questions for you guys, thoughts to, toss out there. There's other better places to put this solar site, right? Like Ewing Mesa in somebody else's backyard. The dry site isn't bad because ain't nothing lives out there anyway. Well, but I mean, for the most part, I don't want to put it in anybody's yard. Picnic Flats, ain't nothing down there. I like Ewing Mesa because a lot of people that got money would enjoy that. And then, I'm concerned about the amount of heat those things put off. Let's see here. Can't even read my own notes. As far as the amount of people that have to work on that project, you mentioned only 3 people that have jobs. It's probably going to take 20 people permanent just to wash the solar panels, because you got to wash them or they lose their effectivity. Once they get covered up with scum, they got to be cleaned every day. And I've watched that one over at Alamosa, and they probably got 10 guys out there on 1 square mile every day cleaning solar panels. So you guys need to look at that. The other thing, I hate to, none of us like to be told what to do with our land, right? I don't, but I've got 4 wind turbines down there on my place too, because I do like the turbines. You guys probably don't like them, but I think I'm the only one in Plata County has wind turbines, solar panels, not so much. And then, I think they need to be bonded, so whenever this project fails, they have to put up like a $2 billion bond so that we can rehabilitate that and take all the crap out. And I have been up there on that land, and
lightning strikes and stuff and put the fires out. It's beautiful, so let's put it somewhere else. But I'd say Ewing Mesa.
Thank you. Who was next? Come on up, sir. All good points, and we're adding them to our list. All good points that we're adding to our armor. Here you are. Tell us your name and where you live.
Chris from over by Ignacio, the old Hunters Run golf course, 19th hole, and we don't drink. Me and the wife over here, Kelly. I'm a dirt guy. I probably dug out 30,000 or more trees in my life and sold them. I'm a non-tech, but get it. There's 140 different or more in Plata County. Go up to Fort Lewis College, make them pay for every rock turned, for every piece of dirt, put them into a court case that'll waste them and make them cry. I'm a Greek, Spartan Greek. We don't ever give up. Make them pay, make them cry in front of you. That's what I say. I mean it. I mean it. You know. Meantime, I'm on Baha'i faith, and I'll go to our local spiritual assembly where we pray and consult. Okay, and we will have prayers for you in our local spiritual assembly of Baha'is, because we're trying to build a new civilization too. This shouldn't be a part of it. This is horrible. I kind of got really upset. I had to recover myself from this, because I know I have a long lifetime. So we don't need this, but I'm telling you, you got to make them pay. I don't care about if Philadelphia lawyers break their psych. That's what I say, and I mean it. This is unnecessary. We kind of come out here occasionally, the wife and I, and planted trees, and even over by that coal mine, we had some nice jobs and nice people live over there. And so I'm just pulling for you guys. The wife's pulling for you, and I'm more than happy to meet all of you. And I hope I can return and sit with you again and share things. And also, I say, let's use the Endangered Species Act for the pinyon jays and for the trees. These trees take forever to grow, forever. You cut the rings, and you might get it's micro. They have no right to do this, and if it's an international project, get out of my country. That's what I say. Don't you think you can come?
Thank you, Chris. You're absolutely right. I think we are up for a big battle. They've got big money and big people, and here we are out here in Hesperus, Colorado, but we're going to show them. Come on up. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. I don't think we need to convince everybody. Chris Caton, we're over on County 100. Don't throw anything at us, but we got pushed down from conifer. Unrelated to COVID, similar things to what you guys are seeing down here happened to us up there. A small 6-acre farm, and pretty much got swallowed up by all the developments that they're building up into the mountains just as quick as they can build out to the east. And this area is kind of how I grew up, northern New Hampshire, rural, ag, logging. And it does feel like home. I've met some nice people already, and they've kind of taken me in, and I don't really mention being from Denver often again. Heads of lettuce thrown at me or some shit. My mind just kind of works in all these, again, anti-big industrial development. I don't think it's sustainable in one bit. You guys sound like you all agree. But a question that was popping up was, did I hear the owner of the land, Igor? Or Igor?
Local family.
Is it one contiguous parcel that was just like only the wealthy tycoons could afford to buy the land? Or?
Well, there's 2 parcels involved. Somebody want to talk to that, Barry? Go ahead.
There are 3 parcels that make up the 1920 acres. One is owned by the Isgard Trust, and that is under an option to lease to Primergy, and that's about 800 acres or so. 3 Sisters is under an option to purchase. That's about 800 acres also, and that's on the east end of their site. And the third by the state of Colorado, and it's old Fort Lewis property. It is under a option to lease that property too. They're all options. Primergy has said and publicly that they have purchased the Three Sisters property. We have not seen that in the county records.
Holders of land currently, do they have any options to back out? Because maybe it would do good to have us maybe approach them and, I mean, somehow figure out a better option.
The only problem with that is that in Colorado, you sign a memorandum of lease with the county clerk, and that shows that the property is encumbered by the lease, but it doesn't show any of the terms. We do not know any of the terms of the lease or the option to purchase.
And are they obligated by law not to, if you went and knocked on his door and said, hey, you know, are they coveted by confidentiality?
No, not confidential. Yeah.
These are relationship questions. Yeah, they're just not responding.
Chris, thank you. We appreciate your input. Share with us your name and where you live, please.
With that tall man. So as part of the planning process, it'll be important to make sure that they include the cradle to grave approach. So not only what's going to happen now, but what's going to happen in 45 years. You guys have already talked about that. But those type of batteries, I don't know if they're gel or what type, they typically only last 15 years to max 30. So that means what's going to happen to those batteries? If the project is 45 years, they're going to have to replace those at least twice, maybe 3 times. Where do those go? So, and you already talked about at the end, taking down all the solar panels as well. Where do those go? Do those go in our landfills? And what's the impact of those? Those batteries are going to burn holes through the liners. That's going to end up in our water as well. You already mentioned weed control. That's going to end up in our water. You mentioned EMF, those high transmission lines. So we're going to get a lot more power going through those high transmission lines. That's going to really impact the people near them. So make sure, please, that they present information for the full life term of the project. Thank you.
Great advice. Is it Kate?
Yes.
Thank you, Kate. Really good advice.
Pam, we didn't respond to one of the questions about any positive effects. So I'm sorry to have gone over that, but I can say that in all of my research, I have not seen any community that was super pumped that this came into their community, or the effects of like the erosion of the site causing stormwater drainage issues. And so we have not uncovered, and if anyone else has, please speak up, but we have not uncovered any positive feedback from these types of projects.
Thank you, Maggie, for circling back with that one. Sir? Share with us your name and where you live, please.
Scott Thompson, just live off of 101. Chris and Kate are my neighbors. And I came here with an attitude of not my field, not my property, I don't care. But hearing this, I don't have anything to do with it. I'm glad you guys are doing your research. Keep up the good work. I guess I had a pipe dream of just deer and sheep just wandering the solar fields, eating the native grass, you know, retaining the water that came off the panels. I guess that was just a pipe dream, but I think they need to probably change up this technology, and at this time I don't think it's sounding too sustainable. With the batteries, power lines, I don't think anyone needs this. But I guess it goes back to, I also don't want it to divide our community. We're still here together, we're neighbors. Whatever your decision is, it's your decision. But I think with hearing this information, I vote no.
Thank you, Scott. You know, and that really comes to the crux of our committee and why we came together. We were looking for transparency and accountability. We have a lot of questions, as you've heard tonight, and we're looking for answers from Primergy. If they're going to put that here, we want to hold them accountable. You know, Accountability from the county commissioners as well. That's right. Thank you.
Because they're gonna tell you that they know what's best for you. That's one of the things that they're gonna.
Cheryl, if you want to speak, come forward, will you please? I happen to know you. Her knee's out. Okay. Cheryl, tell us where you live, please.
I have lived here for more than 30 years. My husband's family homesteaded this area. One of the few that still live here today. We live down on County Road 102. I, along with other people that are in this room, also helped to fight the land use code that is being forced on us. Without our objective, without our thoughts, we met with the planning department, we were on committees, we had officers in our district, none of it was heard, none of it mattered. They sat there and listened to us, but they were gonna do what they were gonna do. So be ready for that fight. Be ready for the systems to go down when you're making comments. You bet.
Yeah.
So be ready for all of this, but you're gonna have to hold your county commissioners accountable as well. Because that's gonna be a really, really big deal in all of this. Because now, even after all these years, and now I understand, I understand why Colton was saying what he was saying about the project being pushed forward. Because with the other issues with the land use code, that took a much longer time. But as they've gone through and as they've changed and the county commissioners have changed, so has everything else. So be ready for that too. It's going to be a fight, but as a community and as landowners, we're going to have to, they're going to have to know we mean business and that we're not going to back down. They will push this on us because they think they know what's better for us than what we know. Okay?
Thank you, Cheryl. And I want to follow Cheryl's comments with my own first question I had when I came to this group. Because one thing is, this is private land. What about private property rights? I'm a huge supporter of private property rights. Don't tell me what I can do on my land. So how come we're together here talking about what somebody else can do on their land? And I know that Barry has an answer, the answer he gave me and why I joined the group. And I'd love for him to share it with you.
Hi. Everybody in our group are private property owners. And we all know the principle that you should be able to do with your land what you want. But there are limits. And the limits are if a landowner is doing an activity on his property that negatively impacts his neighbor, then that neighbor has the right to stand up and say, stop it. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. With Primergy, it has multiple impacts that are going beyond the boundary that it is going to use. It has attempted to mitigate those impacts. But the mitigation just shows that it admits that it's doing damage to the property. If you mitigate something, you admit, hey, I injured it. So the question is that will the mitigation be upheld? And I appreciated the comments today about the county not having a code enforcement officer, because that would be huge in this. If they get down the road, 10 years down the road, and they're failing to do the mitigation that they promised to do, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is nothing. The panels are going to be there. The property is going to be destroyed. Just a beautiful winter migratory path.
Answer. Thank you, Barry. Yes, sir. Come forward. Tell us, please.
Howdy, John Purser. I live up in the valley. But I was interested in LPEA. I've been paying attention to LPEA the last few years. Is there anybody here from LPEA? That's amusing. Who from LPEA told you they wouldn't be getting this power?
The CEO.
Right. Okay, so when we want to talk about integrity and we want to talk about transparency, I find the CEO to be very questionable. A lot of questions that come up about why here. The only reason you would put it here is if this power is going to LPEA. The reason she says we're not buying it is because they're not buying it directly. They did a contract, they have a memorandum of understanding for a contract with Crossover Energy Partners. The request for proposal was never made public. Members never saw it. But board members cannot tell me the details, but have said in that part of it is local generation of power. So LPEA won't buy it directly. They'll buy it through Crossover Energy Partners, who will buy it from Primergy. This project was announced 18 months ago. I did a blog. I wrote extensively about that. Go to John Purser for LPEA and go back about 18 months and read it. You guys did a much better job of addressing all the concerns. I wrote about them in the blog. You have far more detail. Don't believe that this isn't for LPEA. Don't believe you're not fighting the local political structure. You are. They're behind this 100%.
Well, that's good information. Thank you very much.
Ben, I want to say one thing. I have no argument with what John said, but I will add a fact that we do know. On the day that they filed their application, November 4th, they also released a press release that said they were under contract with Guzman, which is a company out of Denver, which takes power and then distributes it different places. As a matter of fact, Aztec receives power there as well as Montrose from Guzman. Now, that was just a press release. We haven't seen any documents. We do not know how valid that is. But I think John's words are wise words. Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
My name is Shady Sutton. Thank you for putting this on. I live in Shenandoah and moved down here 2 years ago. And I try to follow on the YouTube here. I had my kids going and my wife's birthday, but interesting that fellow just talked before because I've got solar panels on my house when I bought it. And I wanted to add some because we're not quite net zero. So I called the solar company and they said, oh, but we have to put an application in to LPEA. And then they have to approve because you see the infrastructure is quite maxed out in this area. It can't handle the energy coming from solar panels on people's houses. And they said, honestly, they're going to reject you. Interested in my good friends here, Chris and Kate, and this thing, the size of effing like Nighthorse. And I go, well, wait a second. I was going to add on to come to net zero so I don't have to pay. But LPA said, no. Tri-State won't allow us. So they won't allow me, but they'll allow this company from California to make all the money because they're going to sell it back to me. And that really pissed me off. And when I didn't see that come up, I jumped in my truck and I raced down here. I was messing. I said, honey, I don't care it's your birthday. I got to go put this out. You know? And listen, I just want to say, I'm going to hit the 30-second, but please, if you give me a moment. You ride down 141, you're going to see this house with a bunch of crap in the front of it. That's my house because I'm not in Shenandoah HOA. I'm homesteaded. I'm part of the Veterans Homestead Program. I've got goats. I've been milking. I've been trying to do that. I'm a veteran myself. I'm a disabled veteran. And this is really helping me. And the HOA and the neighbor said, well, your roosters have ruined our summer house. I said, I am so sorry. But I'm not part of the goddamn HOA. And they tried to push us, and they tried to use their power over us and charge us for extra. And they said, well, if you just join the HOA, because we get rid of your homestead. And I said, fuck you, I'm going to, sorry, excuse my language, but I'm going to get a lawyer. That's what we need here. And I'm telling you, I will fight for anyone. Please give me your contacts. And we need to band together. It's not about just a little bit and a little town meeting. We need to band together. And I'll put in money. Like, this is ridiculous. It just pisses me off that I can't add solars to go to net zero, but this freaking California, what's going on in California?
Fires.
Infrastructure. They don't have the electrical infrastructure. I work oil and gas, and I support green energy when your infrastructure can support it. You don't go from A to B so quickly that you screw up your grid, right? Fires, agriculture, everything, and grid. So please fight this. And for the fact, if the homeowner can't put an extra solar panel, why the hell can they put 500,000? Okay, that's what I want.
JD, I think your point is well made.
Thank you, JD.
There's a bigger point. What's your wife's name? Ashley, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Everybody, right?
Happy birthday, Ashley. We love you.
Thanks for coming down. Now get back and get the cake.
Yes.
So I wanted to mention something that that Christy, I can't remember her name, sorry, but you had said get ready for the systems to go down, writing a comment. We do have open comments on our website, so if you guys are submitting comments to the county, you can feel free to do the website, and I will be sure to keep sharing those with Christy. Our site will not go down, I can guarantee you that. And then also, right. Right, counties, yeah, mine, no.
They're gonna say, oh, we didn't hear anything.
Oopsie. Right.
Maggie's a professional. She's on it.
And also, we are accepting donations. We've got a lot of expenses for printing and just some stuff that we can help to take this cause even further. So if anyone is inclined to donate, that would be really amazing. Thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you, Maggie. Sir, your name and where you live, please.
My name is Landon Wilson. I don't know any of you guys, but I live in Pleasant View, Colorado, which is north of Cortez in Montezuma County. And I heard about this meeting. We are experiencing the same thing as well. There's two big projects coming in. One 2,000-acre solar project coming in Pleasant View, and then a 1,000-acre solar project coming in Lewis Areola area. And I totally support you guys. Do everything you do. I think it would be great, to band together and just raise a bigger voice. I do believe that there is power in numbers, and the bond. Have the county commissioners, if it does for some reason go through, which we all hope it doesn't, have the commissioners really look into a bond. Dolores County, which was Dove Creek, they had a project coming in, and the commissioners proposed a bond that the company, established or whatever. And that company ended up turning down the project because they did not want to pay for that bond. So there is some leverage that we do have. The contracts also, Montezuma County, it's all public record. We are able to look at the contracts for the private property owners. There's like 13 of them that signed up for it. And these big corporation solar companies are really sketchy. The solar company can up and leave, and it's the responsibility of the landowner to take care of those panels. So there's lots of gray area and all this stuff, but I do believe in raising our voices. And another thing too, is it surrounded by BLM by any chance?
No.
Okay.
Surrounded by the utes, get a hold of the utes.
On the north side it is. BLM.
Okay, because for us, some of our property borders canyons of the ancients, and with that being touching the property, BLM and the National Preservation, it's called NEPA, and there's two of them that the company has to go through with federal regulation as well whenever it comes to federal land or even maybe states. So just look into that, but thank you guys for putting this on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Landon. And I agree, there's power in numbers and we should be working together. Anyone in the room? Yes, come on up.
I'm Brandon. Road on the south side. Considers ground watering wells, continuous ground watering monitoring wells around the whole property before it's even started. And if it gets approved, continuous throughout its life. Green energy needs to be held to the same accountability as coal. And you'd be amazed at how much that is not happening. I mean, as much as we, can be upset about the coal mine and different things like that, this is way worse. These people are not from here. This lineage goes overseas. It's not American-based. It's not in our interest whatsoever. And we are fighting a political game. But as a water guy, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Brandon. Yep. Your point is well noted. Anyone else? One.
Again, I'd like to know who the powers that be, that name that are behind it.
Okay.
Especially the international names.
She's asking for the names of the powers that be that are behind it. So we need to do some Google research on Primergy and see who that is. And if you're a Google lady, we could use you on the committee. Sir, come on up.
I'm John Vogel. I live down in the Marble area. My major concern is the groundwater. We all know that the water that's put on the ground up here is irrigation, fills the Marble aquifer. And probably every one of you in here and every one of our neighbors drink from that. How much of it is irrigated and what will become of that water? Is somebody going to buy it up and sell it to California because they're short? Well, once again, our aquifer survives off the irrigation up here. And
That's a really good point, John. And I had a conversation just about that topic with Colton Black earlier. Do you want to add to that, Colton? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I would like to put you on the spot.
I'm sure you can. So yeah, that was one of my questions too, is in regards to the irrigation. I know that there are priority irrigation rights held by the ISGARs, and with 1,900 acres, what's going to happen with that water that they currently own? There are requirements under Colorado water law that require that water to be put to beneficial use, and I think that is definitely an angle that can be approached by those that are in opposition to this to go after the water, because I don't think the ISGARs want to give up their water. And if they're really willing to go down this path, you can't water solar panels. So, somebody else in this community deserves that water that can put it to use. And so if they want to go down that path, they should be willing to give that water to someone else in our community that can put it to beneficial use, so that we can use it both for agricultural purposes as well as to recharge the aquifer that we all depend on out here.
Thank you, Colton. So we do want to wrap up in 10 minutes. So we got 10 minutes. Is it Katie?
Yeah.
Come on back up.
Cleaning those solar panels takes a ton of water, and they've got to do it constantly.
Katie's point is cleaning solar panels takes a lot of water to clean. And y'all heard the number of how much water it's going to take in the first year.
344 acre feet.
Which equates to how many gallons, Maggie?
Let me log back into my computer.
Lake Nighthorse, they are.
It is 110,789,321 gallons of water, just only for dust control during construction. That's only during construction. Lake Nighthorse. It comes from Lake Nighthorse.
Sir, it's in their application. They have a contract with Lake Nighthorse for that water. It's in their application. That much water in the first year of construction.
That's just construction.
Okay, guys, hold up. Susan, if you'd like to come to the mic, please. Susan's a research guru.
In their application, they say that they would use 5 acre feet of water per year to clean the panels twice per year.
Twice a year? Who said?
After construction. That's ongoing.
Susan said that they will require 5 acre feet of water per year to clean the panels twice a year, correct? After construction. Who said that they saw guys out cleaning panels all the time? Brad did. Yeah. Okay. So 9 minutes left. Who else would like to come on up? Come on up. It's better on the microphone for the guys in the back row.
All right, so I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if they're washing these panels down, how are they recovering the water? Or is it going to wash that lithium into the soil, which then again goes back into our wells or into our rivers or whatever? Once that's in the ground, there's nothing we can do about it. It's there permanently. So the other thing is, you people have seen solar on the south end of the hospital on Murray Drive. They have I'm going to call it roughly 10-acre solar farm down there. So if you want to see what ones it's on a very small scale, there's one down there to go look at. The other one, I work in the oil field a lot, down on the Hickory. So if you go down towards Liebrook and then down towards Cuba, where the Apache Nugget Casino is, the 537 North and 36, which is Korea Road. You can look off to the west from there. They've got a solar panel farm down there, pretty close to what they're talking about down there. And up there for years. When you look out across that mesa, it was all sagebrush with a few piñons here and there. All you see is a mirror as far as you can see, and it just reflects any hour of the day. You know, any of us that live down here looking towards the mountains, you know, our landscape as we know it, it's gone. So, I don't know, some of you know me, I live down in Marble. I've lived in this area my entire life. My great-grandfather and my grandfather built the flour mill down there in Long Hollow. So, anyways.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming forward. Is there anyone else? Okay, so we'll kind of wrap this up then. It's pushing 8 o'clock. Again, I want to thank you for coming. I do want to ask everybody that's put time and effort into this project to come forward. A couple of you in the back. I want everyone to stand that's on this committee so that the group can see us. These people have spent countless hours doing the research, as I hope you can imagine, and you've seen the research we've put in. We have chosen this fight, and if you want to join us, we welcome you. Sign up through our Facebook page. Trapper, get up here. Sign up on our Facebook page. Check out our website. We welcome help. We welcome muscle. We welcome money. We welcome brain. We welcome any talents you may have that you can give and offer to this group, because we're working hard and we all have jobs. We all have families. We all have properties to maintain. So we have a lot of other things to do. And like the gentleman from Montrose said, where there's numbers, there's power, and many hands make lighter work, right? So I want to give these folks a round of applause, as well as you, for coming tonight. Thank you.
And most importantly, we need your voice. So if anything, please help to share this message, and any channel or any way that you can get this information in other people's hands to then pass on would be very helpful. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. Oh yeah, and the public hearing. Please stay tuned to our website about when that public hearing will be. That will really be very significant. Thank you everyone. Get home safe. Have a great evening.
If anyone is wanting to sign the paper version of the petition, it is at the back table. You can only sign a petition once, either online or the paper petition. So pick one and it'll be at the back table. Thank you.
But we always see each other around the table.
Follow the money.